You work too hard.
My wife Lauren said from the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of wine. I nodded, smiled, and went back to my laptop. She thought I was finishing a project. And I was. But not the kind she expected. Because 3 weeks earlier, I'd taken her winter coat to the dry cleaner and found a receipt for a car I'd never seen, and a love note meant for another man. So that night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to destroy her. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment below and subscribe to this channel for more cheating wife stories on YouTube. My name is Daniel, and for weeks I lived a lie. Not because I was the one deceiving, but because I was pretending I didn't know the truth. Every smile, every "I love you," every dinner we shared was a performance, and I was the only one in the audience who knew the curtain was about to fall. It started with small things. Lauren, my wife of 12 years, began working out obsessively. At first, I was happy for her. We'd moved to Columbus, Ohio, 3 years ago for my engineering job, and she'd struggled to find her footing. A new fitness routine seemed healthy. But then came the late nights at the gym that stretched past 10. The new clothes she'd hide in the back of the closet. The way she'd angle her phone screen away from me whenever a message came through. I told myself I was being paranoid. Lauren and I had built a life together. A beautiful home in the suburbs. Shared dreams. 12 years of history. People don't throw that away for a fling. Then came that Monday morning. Lauren had left early for a spa day with the girls. I noticed her heavy winter coat draped over the kitchen chair, the one she'd bought last fall. I figured I'd drop it off at the dry cleaner on my way to work, finally get it cleaned. When I got to the shop, the attendant asked me to empty the pockets. I reached in, expecting nothing. Maybe an old tissue, a forgotten receipt for coffee. Instead, my fingers closed around a folded piece of paper. I pulled it out and felt my world collapse. It was a down payment receipt for a luxury $200,000 Porsche 911 with a yellow post-it attached, which said, "Last night was incredible." The buyer's name was Lauren Brennan. The registration address belonged to someone named Marcus Webb. Marcus, her friend from the gym. I stood there in the dry cleaner's lobby, surrounded by plastic-wrapped suits and the hum of industrial machines, staring at proof that my wife was using our joint savings, money I had earned through years of overtime, missed vacations, and sacrificed weekends, to buy her friend a car. The old Daniel would have driven straight to the gym, found Marcus, and made a scene. Would have confronted Lauren that night, screamed, thrown things, and ultimately given her exactly what she needed. A reason to paint me as the villain. But standing in that dry cleaner, receipt trembling in my hand, something shifted inside me. I wasn't the old Daniel anymore. If Lauren wanted to play games, I was going to teach her that some opponents don't just play to win, they play to destroy. I thanked the attendant, pocketed the receipt, and drove to work like nothing had happened. Over the next few weeks, I became a detective in my own home. Now that I knew what to look for, the evidence was everywhere. I noticed the charges on our joint credit card, expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, spa treatments, jewelry. I found more receipts stuffed in her purse, her gym bag, her nightstand drawer, hotels in downtown Columbus, boutique stores, romantic dinners for two. And buried in a stack of mail, I discovered another love note written on expensive stationery. To my queen, "Soon we'll have everything, Marcus." I became the perfect husband. I complimented her new outfits, asked about her workouts, even suggested we take a vacation together, knowing full well she'd decline. Every time she lied about where she'd been, I smiled and nodded. Every time she whispered into her phone and claimed it was just her sister, I pretended to believe her. But behind closed doors, I was building my case. The first call I made was to a fraud specialist at our bank. "I believe there's been unauthorized activity on our joint account," I explained, my voice calm and measured. A large purchase was made without my knowledge or consent. They flagged the account immediately and opened an investigation. The Porsche dealership was contacted, and within days I had confirmation. The purchase had been made solely in Lauren's name, using funds from our joint savings, without any documentation of my approval. The second call was to a divorce attorney named Richard Hoffman, a sharp-eyed man with a reputation for protecting wronged spouses. When I laid out the evidence, starting with that dry cleaner receipt, he leaned back in his chair and smiled.
Mr. Brennan, your wife made a critical mistake. In Ohio, marital assets require mutual consent for major purchases. She essentially committed financial fraud against you. This changes everything.
We developed a strategy. Richard would prepare the divorce papers while I gathered more evidence. The goal wasn't just to end the marriage. It was to ensure Lauren walked away with nothing but the consequences of her choices. Meanwhile, I kept playing my part. One evening, Lauren suggested we go out for our anniversary dinner at Marcello's, an upscale Italian restaurant downtown. I recognized the name immediately. It was one of the places she'd been taking Marcus. "Sounds great," I said, kissing her cheek. "I can't wait." During dinner, Lauren was distracted. She kept checking her phone under the table, her lips curling into a private smile whenever a message arrived. I watched her. This woman I'd loved for over a decade, and felt something I hadn't expected. Pity. She had no idea what was coming. After dessert, she excused herself to the restroom. The moment she was gone, I signaled the waiter and paid the bill with my personal card, a card she didn't have access to. When she returned, I suggested we head home.
Actually,
she said, glancing at her phone.
I need to stop by the gym. Left my wallet there.
At 10 o'clock at night? She shrugged, already reaching for her coat.
Won't take long.
I nodded, letting her go, because I knew exactly where she was headed, and I knew what was waiting for her when she got there. The repossession team arrived at Marcus's apartment at exactly 10 p.m. I know this because Detective Morrison from the fraud unit texted me the moment it happened.
Vehicle secured. Your wife was present. Things got loud.
I could picture it perfectly. Lauren, standing in Marcus's driveway, watching as the Porsche, her grand gesture of love, was loaded onto a flatbed truck. The confusion on her face, the dawning horror as she realized someone had reported the fraud. And Marcus, probably backing away, already calculating how quickly he could distance himself from the mess. When Lauren came home that night, her mascara was smeared and her hands were shaking. She found me on the couch, reading a book, completely at peace. "Everything okay?" I asked, not looking up.
Fine. Just a mix-up at the gym.
"You look upset." She didn't respond, just stormed into the bedroom and slammed the door. I smiled and turned the page. Over the following days, I watched Lauren unravel. She was constantly on the phone, arguing in hushed, frantic tones. She barely slept. She stopped going to the gym entirely, which meant she stopped seeing Marcus. I overheard snippets of their conversations, each one more desperate than the last.
They're saying fraud, Marcus. They took the car. What am I supposed to do?
And his response, muffled but clear enough.
This isn't my problem, Lauren. You said you had it handled.
The thing about affairs built on excitement and secrecy is that they crumble the moment real consequences arrive. Marcus wasn't interested in a woman facing fraud charges and a messy divorce. He wanted the fantasy, the expensive gifts, the stolen afternoons, the thrill of deception. When the thrill died, so did his interest. 1 week later, I came home to find Lauren sitting at the kitchen table, her face pale and drawn. In front of her was a stack of papers.
We need to talk,
she said, her voice hollow. About what?
I know you know,
she whispered.
About Marcus. About the car. About everything.
I said nothing, just waited.
How long?
She asked, tears spilling down her cheeks.
How long have you known?
6 months, I replied. Since the day I took your coat to the dry cleaner. You left the receipt in your pocket, Lauren. The down payment for a $200,000 Porsche registered to your lover's address. You hid it in the one place you thought I'd never look. Her face went white.
The coat. I forgot.
Oh, you forgot, I repeated. I continued, my voice steady. I've watched you lie to my face, drain our savings, and plan a future with another man. I've seen every text, every receipt, every hotel charge. But it all started with that coat, that receipt, that one careless mistake. Her face crumpled.
Why didn't you say something?
Because I wanted you to hang yourself with your own rope, I said. And you did. Beautifully. I slid the divorce papers across the table. Richard Hoffman prepared these. You'll notice the terms aren't particularly favorable to you. Given the fraud charges and the evidence of infidelity, the court isn't likely to be sympathetic. She stared at the papers, then back at me.
You can't do this.
It's already done! I stood up, looking down at the woman I'd once loved more than anything in the world. You made your choice, Lauren. Now live with it. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Lauren lost the house, most of our savings, and any claim to my retirement fund. The fraud charges resulted in a suspended sentence and mandatory restitution, money she'd have to pay back over the next decade. Marcus had moved to Kentucky with a new girlfriend. He never looked back at the wreckage he'd helped create. Men like him never do. As for me, I found peace in unexpected places. I sold the house in Columbus and moved to a cabin near Lake Michigan. It was smaller than what I was used to, but the quiet was exactly what I needed. I spent my mornings fishing, my afternoons reading, and my evenings watching the sunset over the water. For the first time in years, I wasn't working towards someone else's happiness. I was building my own. My sister Amanda came to visit a few weeks after the move. She brought wine and her particular talent for saying exactly what I needed to hear.
You look different,
she said, settling onto the porch swing beside me. Good different or bad different?
Good,
She said.
like you finally stopped carrying weight that was never yours.
She was right. The anger I'd felt, the burning, consuming rage, had faded into something softer. Not forgiveness, exactly. Lauren didn't deserve that. But acceptance. Understanding that her betrayal said everything about who she was, and nothing about who I was. I started consulting for engineering firms in the area, working on my own terms for the first time in my career. The projects were interesting, the pay was solid, and I answered to no one but myself. I reconnected with old friends, took up woodworking, and even adopted a rescue dog named Cooper, who became my constant companion. Detective Morrison called me a few months later with an update. Lauren had violated the terms of her restitution agreement and was facing additional legal consequences. Her life, it seemed, continued to spiral.
Just thought you'd want to know.
He said. Thanks, I replied. But honestly, I stopped caring about Lauren's life the day I started living my own. When I hung up, I poured myself a glass of bourbon and raised it to the empty air. As I sat on the dock with Cooper at my feet, watching the stars emerge over the lake, I thought about the man I used to be, the one who worked himself to exhaustion for a wife who didn't appreciate him, the one who ignored every red flag because admitting the truth was too painful. That man was gone now. In his place was someone stronger, wiser, free. Thank you for listening. Like the video and subscribe for more infidelity stories and cheating wife stories about finding the strength to start over.